What's up, everybody? Steve. With me is Kev and Josh. We're gonna break down Saturday's win. But before we get into that, how are we doing, Kevin? It's been
What's
a
up,
while.
guys? How's it going?
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
That would make you think that I have things to say and update about my personal life, but there's nothing. There's nothing going on. Everything's hunky dory. Nothing to see here. So pollen allergies are really bad in Tennessee. That's what's on my mind.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
But I kind of know the answer is going to be no, but have you gone to a Knox game yet?
No.
Okay, that's why. Never mind.
Well, it's okay. So the first season we were like so close to doing it, and then I don't know, the tickets are a little pricey.
Really?
Like they're not far off from like a Hounds ticket, and I'm just like, and I got to sit in like at the time. I think it still might be. It was in like a high school stadium, and I was like, I don't want it, so. We didn't do it, but I think they're building a new baseball stadium downtown, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to be dual use for the soccer team, and that'll be a nice stadium. So I'd be more willing to kind of pay a little more money for.
I've never heard anyone be like, "I'm going to wait until they play in a baseball stadium before I go."
Well,
you took the words out of my mouth, Josh.
Yeah, beggars can't be choosers, I guess. Yeah. But so.
Josh, what about you? What's been going on?
Busy. Yeah. I mean, like we had obviously the game on Saturday, then it was the marathon on Sunday. I did not run. Don't get your idea. No way. No. I handed out treats to the runners. So
that's cool.
We went to the West End Bridge. It's something that a friend of ours, she's been doing it for a couple years now. So she kind of like dragged us all along too. And at first I was like, I don't know. Is this other friend of mine going? Okay, I'll go. And it actually ended up being really fun. Like the runners were all really appreciative. You're like handing out bags of like peanuts and pretzels and oranges. And like, they're just like so gracious. And you're also just like rooting them on. And you can just see them like smile and start running faster as they go by you. So it was cool. I liked it a lot.
Nice. Was it like sanctioned, or did you guys just randomly show up and pass out like
just randomly showed up?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You don't ask for permission for that. You just show up with baggies full of candy and like, hey, runner, You want some of this?
Nice. Kev, that's a great question. I hadn't even thought of that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. We were on the West End Bridge, so it's like a really good view, and like it was just kind of fun. So
nice.
Yeah. It's I bet you probably get a higher acceptance rate like the longer into the marathon you go, right? 5 miles, I'm like, I don't know about this guy, and then but like 20 miles, I'm like, yeah, give me.
Yeah, well, we were on the 6th mile, like going into the 7th mile, so they were pretty compliant. Like they were like, yeah, sure, just it's some of those, especially near the end of the crew. Like we stayed until like we got like the bus going by that was like picking up the stragglers that were like giving up. So like it was. Yeah, near the end there's like, yeah, sure. Well, I don't know why I did this. This was a stupid idea. Can I tag you in?
You said no every time. Great stuff. Well, I have no exciting news whatsoever because last Monday I got shingles.
What?
So I am really grateful for modern medicine because that antiviral really seems to have made a huge difference. Like definitely on like the upswing from it. But man, it's not fun. If you had chickenpox, I encourage you to go ask your doctor to get the shingles vaccine. There were a couple days where like I just woke up and like my back felt like I went to like a 4-hour weightlifting session with like pro weightlifters.
Yeah.
And like I just couldn't do anything for hours. Like just like sat downstairs in the chair in the living room drinking coffee and reading, or just like slowly moseying around the house. So Rory is going crazy because he hasn't gotten to do everything he wants to do. About 20 minutes before I got on, he was just like barking at me like crazy, just like trying to get me to play with it. And I'm like, God, but I gotta go podcast. I can't right now.
That sounds
but
rough.
yeah. So I wasn't able to be there at the game. So I got to watch at home. So Josh, you are our lone rep, but we got the win, 1-0 win against Miami. Yeah. So first things first, it was, what was it, Mascot Mania night. Ammo had a bunch of mascot friends there. Josh, tell us a little bit about that. And did you get an Ammo Squish plushie?
Liz did. I did not. Actually,
Okay.
now that I think about it, I have not even seen it. Like, I know she got one, but I haven't even seen it.
I'm just waiting for Liz's hand to like slide in from the
Right.
side of your screen.
Yeah, but more importantly, this is sneakily becoming one of the more fun like events they do, is the mascot event, because it's so goofy.
Mhm.
And like there's mascots for everything. Like I didn't realize something, like there's a water heater mascot. There's like there was like mascots for like any little thing you can think of. There was some guy in a lion, like pretty, like it looked like a Halloween costume. I don't know what he was. He might have showed up with it. I don't know if he was officially sanctioned mascot, but yeah, he would just walk around, just like the most sad costume ever. Anyway, but almost all the mascots would like make their way into the SEAL Army section, Paul Chalice stand, and start like, dance with us and doing the chants, and like it was pretty funny.
Nice.
A lot of awkward moments where there's like listening to the lyrics, like, oh, wait a second, maybe I shouldn't be here. As you expected, Liz did just send me the.
That's pretty great.
That's pretty good.
What's kind of cool about it is I didn't know they were going to do this. On the back, it's actually like stitched in here. It's the 25
Nice
anniversary. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know anything about Squishmallow, and I know this is a sanctioned Squishmallow, but it's pretty much what they are. Yeah, it's another tchotchke from the Hounds, which is great because the collection I'm gathering is fantastic. So
yeah,
nice,
awesome. Well, we're going to talk about this game, but Josh, you got something for us?
Oh, yes, I do, actually.
There we go.
I'll admit, I almost forgot.
I did too. I forgot the beer was even there. I mean, the victory beverage was even there.
All right. So, so we played Miami, got a win off a goal in the 16th minute from Keziah Sterling. I thought great build-up play on that goal. Biasi found Etu streaking down the left-hand side, and Etu drove to the end line, passed it low right into the 6-yard box where both Sterling and Mertz were. Sterling was a half step ahead and able to put his foot through it into the back of the goal. So guys, tell me your thoughts on the goal, on what you saw from the guys in the attack on that play and other plays, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff. Josh, you're up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kev.
No, go ahead.
Nope, let you say Josh.
I'll start talking. No, I mean, like, so really impressive. I mean, Steve, you kind of set it up there. I think one of the things I liked most about that goal was that they were, okay, so Sterling's crashing, Mertz is crashing with him. Kiza rightfully pulls off at the last second because Sterling's crashing, and so Kiza's there for a cutback. Griffin's there for a cutback, and then by the end of it, Revere's crashing the back post with like no Miami defender on it. So Etu makes the play, and then there are options in the box. I think that's something that I don't even think we struggled with that in the past, but I think in times where we have struggled to get goals, a lot of it stems from not getting enough players committed into the attack. I don't know, maybe out of a lack of confidence or something, but that's one of the biggest steps. And we have players committing, trying to attack the net, which is really positive. And then obviously, I mean, geez, Etu with the nutmeg. I must admit, I think because of my feelings towards Etu, I think he's like a great player. I feel like he's a little wasted out on like left fullback, but I mean, I think he's found his legs there. He's playing that position really well. Defensively, he's really strong, and then offensively, he's fine. That was a great play that he set that up, and he set up one or two other chances in this game too. So, no, it was a really good goal.
Yeah. No, I think I definitely agree, and I think you picked out a few things that are really important, right? Like that's not the only time he did that, and I believe his other assist on the season was a very similar type of pass. Um, yeah, just like
it's hard to find like no, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, like left-footed players are kind of hard to come by, right?
Yeah.
So when you can have someone who's left-footed, and I mean it's
Right.
a benefit to put him in the right
Right.
position.
Well, and I think right, like I think back to early Bob Lilly years when some of those wingers on that side were definitively right-footed players, and all they were doing was cutting in to
Yeah.
the top of the 18.
Yeah.
So this was a little different. Josh, you got some thoughts on this goal and what you saw?
Yeah, well, first off, echoing what you're saying about Atu, fantastic game. I thought in general he is shaping up to be one of our best players, and I think it might have been, I can't remember if it was in a podcast. It was either in Houndsy or in our Discord, Steel Army Discord. I can't remember, but talking about this being like maybe his year, his breakout year.
Mhm.
And like I could see it because yeah, he was fantastic. But as far as the goal goes, it is, I think that was our one time where we actually connected and actually went in. And there were so many opportunities in this game where we should have scored or could have scored. And I think there was also a couple opportunities for Miami to score that should have scored, but they didn't. This was less about being the most lucky and more about who was the least unlucky because I feel like neither one of us had a good game in general. It just, we actually got one in out of the, multitude of options or chances, and they didn't. Because yeah, there's so many times where that ball is bouncing around in the box, and I'm just like, you can get this. Like, oh, okay, there's a shot, there's a shot, there's a shot. Okay, no, nope, all right, and then like open goals where we just whiff it or shank it, and it's just, it was a frustrating game in that aspect. I mean, I'm glad we won, and I don't. Bob had the team out on the field for a long time. Like this is one of the longer ones I've seen this, definitely this season, but in general. And if you heard his presser afterwards, like he was not happy about this game. He in traditional Lily fashion, he was more upset when you win than when you lose.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's because he knew, like, it's easy for the team to know what they did wrong. But yeah, when they lose, but not when they win. And that was definitely a situation here.
Yeah. Well, and I think something I've picked up over the years, listening to Bob at post games, is in a game like this, especially when you're giving up some of the chances that the Hounds gave up, despite the fact that Miami didn't have good chances on goal. They still did have 7 shots, forced 2 saves. But I think some of their better chances were ones that were just wide or just over, right? Like those were some of the ones where they looked the most dangerous, not the ones that Eric Dick had to save. But with that, I mean, that's when Bob, he lays into the guys because he has an expectation that, those are the types of things that shouldn't be happening. And when you're in a game where you get 15 shots and you I think it was 7 on target, 6 on target, something like that. The Miami goalkeeper saved 4 of them, and I think there were 2 that were on target, but defenders cleared them out, maybe 3. That's when Bob really isn't happy, and I think as well when, especially I saw it early in the game, seeing the opposition breaking through the midfield and putting the ball towards their forwards, even if the defense is strong, and the defense was strong. I think that was the highlight of this game for me. Okay, so couple other things that I think are big question marks. Keziah came off at halftime.
I wanted to ask about that. Yeah, I mean, I was wondering, like, did I miss something like at the start of the second half? And I didn't catch. Does anyone know why?
Yeah, so I mean, the announcers talked about it on TV as if it might have been gearing up for the 2 games coming up this week. But he also did, there was a stop to play where Keziah was down and holding his shoulder, and the trainer came out. And so I think there's a lot of question mark for me around that. Josh, did you see anything in the stadium that, or was there any things that people were positing in the stands?
No, I didn't get a chance to talk to him after the game either. So I But I mean, he was out doing the autographs. He came over
Mhm.
for the victory selfie with Ammo, the birthday boy. So he seemed fine. So I don't think it was injury related. At least nothing that would cause him to go into the locker room after
Mhm.
the game real fast or anything like that. He was walking around and signing autographs like normal.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And that's good. What else? I mean, what else did you guys see in this game that we haven't talked about that is on your minds?
I mean, to kind of reinforce a point, Josh, that you made. I don't know. This phrase got in my head before we started recording, and I'm committed to using it. This game in particular felt like a Taylor Swift song lyric or title, "Champagne Problems," right? Where so we end up getting in the goal, but yeah, I mean it on another night this could have easily been 1-1 or a 2-1, a 2-1 loss, and so I'm starting to worry a little bit where we're creating chances, and I think that's probably the hardest thing to do in a game is create chances. I would like a little more chance conversion. I know that's it's tough. I think it's one of the hardest things to do is score a goal. And we get the win, so that's why I don't want to really harp on it too much. 3 wins in a row, but I think especially when I don't know, Sterling seems, he'll get his goals this season. I'm still a little worried about Kizza. And then after that, I'm kind of scratching my head about where consistent goals will come from. And so I think that still hasn't really left my mind. And this game kind of didn't really change that. And once again, that I can live with that if we go back to the Lily defense that had Joe Greenspan and Bonke Azeel sitting back there, where we were letting in 16 goals a season. I don't think that's going to happen this season either, though. So something needs to happen where we either start limiting opposition to a single shot on target a game, and our defense cracks down and we're scoring 1 goal. We're getting 1-0 wins, or I think we need to just turn up the chance conversion. This kind of middle ground, I don't know. I'm not super happy with where we're at, but I mean, I don't know. We're moving forward as a team, but that's just something that I'm thinking about.
So, I mean, I think, Kev, I got a question about that though. Do you think our defense is not looking good right now?
On paper, I'm happy with it. I like Biasi. I mean, I like Biasi where he is. I was very up for the Griffin experiment at the beginning of the season. Turns out that's wrong.
I'm glad you see the error.
I'm very happy to see Griffin further up the field. And so, Hogan's there, Osamon is there. I think all of them are good players. I think Dick is a good goalkeeper, but I don't know. I don't know. I maybe they just need a little bit more time and consistency to play as a 3, and gel with the goalkeeper. I don't know. I don't have a good answer to that question, but
yeah. I mean, I think the only reason I asked that is we've given up 7 goals on the season so far, but 6 of those were in the first 3 games.
Yeah.
And so something is working.
But
yeah.
I wouldn't say this game against Miami was a great defensive performance either, though.
Bob would say the same, and he did say the same. He said that it was a terrible defensive performance. He started pointing out if we were playing up against Charleston or something like that, they would have put in
one
so
of
many
the
goals.
Good teams.
Yeah, they pretty much said they're tearing up the league right now. If that would have been against them, they would have torn us apart with this defense. Pretty much, Miami isn't exactly putting in a lot of goals, and they are leaking a lot of goals. I mean, the Rowdies put 5 up against them when they played them. So it's kind of concerning that we were only able to get 1. But there was so many chances for goals for us, at least, that I'm not concerned offensively. This didn't scream, "Oh, our offense needs a lot of work," because we had so many chances, and any one of those could have gone in. They were just unlucky bounces, or we had a lot of those opportunities. Yes, I want to see us put more of those away, but I feel like getting the opportunities is the hard part. Starting to putting them away, that's going to come as the season goes on. But
I hope so.
I think it will. I'm not actually worried about our offense at all anymore. Like I'm putting that part to bed for myself. Like I'm like, nope, we're good offensively. Now let's focus on not having all these mistakes in the back. And yeah, I think that's what Lily is the best at. So I'm feeling pretty confident after these, last couple wins.
Mm-hmm. I agree that I'm not worried about the offense, which feels really weird to say because before, like at the end of the fifth game, I was like, where the heck are our goals going to come from?
Yeah.
And I was also, how are we going to keep people out of the net? And somehow we started to see those things align, right? And I think what I do want to recognize with the performance on Saturday, though, was it the best Hounds performance that we've seen? Obviously not. But was it good enough to get the job done on that night and be a night where Bob can then say, okay, here's what didn't go well, and we're not going to be able to beat really good teams when we play like this. And so we got the win, but there's also still the chance for a lot of growth and learning to come out of it without having dropped 3 points.
Yeah, I'm so with you that like you're not gonna play every game in a season with a great performance, right? There's going to be games where you just don't play well and you still need to win those games, and this was one of them. And it like undoubtedly a good result.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a good game, but it's just, I guess there's some obvious easy things to pick out of like what went wrong. But yeah, I think it's not to forget that. Look, at the end of the day, it was a win, and we played fairly well, especially going forward.
Mm-hmm.
As a fan, I'm perfectly fine with this game. But it seems like Lily as a coach is completely upset and thinks, this was a terrible game that we should never have won and that we got lucky and that there's so much work now that we have to do, which maybe that's just messaging. Maybe that's just, trying to light a fire under the defense to like get them to close down more. And I do think there is something to be said about like, did we look like we were complacent after going up a goal? Like, was the hunger still there to score more? I think it was. Like, we had a lot more opportunities after that goal even. It's just none of them, were capitalized on. But it was definitely like, hey, we're good now. We're winning, and let's not play as hard. At least, I think the back line, that's probably true.
The Sterling sub couldn't have helped that psychologically either.
Maybe. So. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like the people who are hungry wasn't just Sterling. Like, there were so many opportunities there in the offense to score goals.
Okay, but I think I want to agree with Kevin in the sense that
how dare
it wasn't just just a Sterling sub, right? Like, it wasn't a like for like sub. It was Bradley Sample coming in, right? Like, and that's why I think where my question of what was the decision there, and how do we interpret that? Because you're bringing in a guy that's been playing much more defensive midfield throughout the season in for the guy that you've put as your front forward.
I think so. But that shows us that he thought offense were fine right now, but our defense is lacking, and so he was trying to put something in there that would maybe jumpstart that defense. Like, I don't think he was worried about scoring goals because he knew we could, especially against Miami. It was more about defending and not letting in a sloppy goal.
I see that argument, but at the same time, I think once again, if I look back just kind of on paper and think about like the tactics that I would want to use for this team, I'm cool with that if that sub is Kizza. I think if it was Sterling with Forbes, Mertz, and Griffin behind him, all in a kind of attacking midfielder sense, that feels like enough firepower and like conversion rate that I feel good about. I don't know. I've never been happy with Kizza as a lone striker. It's happened a couple times over the past, 12 months. And I don't know. He never really kind of lights it up. And so,
I mean, you hit on something I think that's really important for me. And it's like, I'm of kind of two minds, right? Like, got to trust Bob, right? Like, he knows way more than I do. Like he understands the game in a way that I never will. But at the same time, like if I'm making that choice, I don't think I'm making that choice. And I think like the differentiator there is that Bob is going to make the defensive choice every single time, right? If he's going to make a sub for a tactical reason, unless it's late in the end of a must-win game and he's throwing everything he's got at it, he's often going to make a more defensive sub, and we've seen that time after time after time. And so we may not like that, and we may disagree with that, and that's why we do this, right? Like that's why we talk about it. And I'd like to see a little more offense in those situations, but I also know that that's not the way Bob's ever going to coach.
Yeah. I brought this question up because I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
Do we agree or not? So Mondo said, if we had played like this last week, we would have lost. It felt sloppy.
I don't agree.
Really?
No. I just because I didn't see anything out of Detroit last week that makes me think they're any better than what Miami had.
Is that because it's just Detroit that you're saying that?
No.
At the time, undefeated Detroit for the season.
Sure. But the way that they came in and played, like, yes, do I think the Hounds played excellent in defense and midfield last week? I do. But I also think that there's something about playing a team that is organized that Detroit didn't know how to handle.
That's fair. I disagree. I think we would have lost, but yes, I'm also, I don't know. I do think it's overblown how bad Bob thought the defense was this game.
Mm-hmm.
And in general, this game was like it. Was it a beautiful game? No, but I would rather just win with a scrappy game than, lose playing the best we ever played, which is why I'm not a coach. I just care about the 3 points.
I mean, yeah. I was gonna. What do you guys think about like I don't know. So Miami got a little bit of joy out of like set pieces against us, and I would say maybe defensively, if there is a weakness, potentially it's our height. I'm Googling as I'm saying this, and I'm stretching this to double check my own numbers here. But yeah, okay. Like according to Google, Osamanu's 5'11", Biasi's 6 foot. Those aren't Groks back there, right? I mean, and now I love what they give us in a possession and attacking sense. I think both of them are very good on the ball. Both of them distribute the ball really well. Both of them have an anticipation about them, about being in the right place at the right time and defending on the front foot. But if you get a couple, if you get a well-designed team for set pieces, or if you get a big body up front, I don't know. I in the long run, I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing it out there. I didn't think about it until we started this conversation. I don't know if you guys agree, disagree, or what have you. Atu's not that big. No, Rivera wasn't that. I mean, Rivera's not that big. So yeah, we might be a little shorter.
I think that is definitely the case. I mean, and I think we talked about that. I don't know if we talked about it on air or if it was just some of the behind the scenes conversations. But in those first 3 games, when Hogan was still not fully fit, right? I mean, we were really small in defense.
Yeah.
I also don't think the size is necessarily like actually, this is kind of funny. So after the game was over and Bob had finally finished yelling at the team and they let us on the field, I just came across Bob talking to Toby Sims. He was there watching the game, and he was talking to some of the players, and he came over to Bob and they were talking, and Bob had mentioned how good Toby was at like defending with his whole body and actually getting down and blocking the ball instead of just trying to get his foot in front of the ball and defending that way. And you could tell Bob was just in this mindset of being like, this defense, like blah, blah, blah. So like he was just talking about, how you needed to defend with your whole body. And like, you don't have to be a huge guy for that. You just have to be able to, commit your body to that.
There's a story I heard about, it was some manager, and they're talking about some like weird, unusual philosophies for like modern day coaching or whatever. And I think he was talking about, he wanted his fullback to be more aggressive. And so he sent his fullback to kickboxing classes, just like to literally get more aggressive. And like
the legs, Johnny.
Yeah. And it worked. And it was just the mentality thing where he wanted him to defend on the front foot and aggressively, and rather than just like playing, soccer. No, it's so yeah, I like.
All right, Hounds retreat to MMA
Yeah.
training.
That's right.
Get an octagon at Highmark.
Yeah.
We better not give Jeff any ideas. All right. So with all that being said, Olalo Samanu was named man of the match. So what do you make of that, Josh?
Yeah, I feel like I only watched the game live. I did not rewatch the game. Which, by the way, it being on like the Gonzalo or whatever, like, is there a replay? Can you rewatch this game?
I couldn't find it.
Okay, I was just making sure I'm not the only one. I was like, I don't know where to.
I don't like this.
So what I did figure out is, okay, it was on Golazo, so I had to hook my laptop up to my TV so I could watch it on KDKA Plus. And I did see like KDKA Plus airs it live, and then they air it again like 24 hours later.
Oh,
but
cool.
It's not. But like you can't access it again after that, right?
Right.
So I don't think that this is a game that we can actually rewatch.
Lame.
But Osamano.
Do we need kickboxing? For those listening to it and not watching, yeah, Laura Ellen. Need I bring up Romero? Do we need kickboxing?
Romeo, yeah.
Well, you got
Romeo
me there.
Parks.
No comment.
Parks. So for newer Hounds fans, one of the first times I ever was like, oh wow, look, the Riverhounds, they're on the our soccer subreddit, right? Like the global soccer that covers the Premier League and Champions League, right? And it is a former forward who got banned from the league for a little while for putting his foot through the back of Carlo Met, who was with the Red Bulls at that time.
Yeah, not even during play, by the way. This was after the whistle had blown, the play had stopped. It's been like a dead ball for a while. And then he just came rushing in the back and just kicked right in the back. So terrible, unsportsmanlike, not recommending that at all. That was
my good buddy who is apt to come up with nicknames for any hound whenever he wants, calls him Dropkick Romeo.
Oh, wolf. All right. Anyway, moving on.
So back to Osamanu.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like Osamanu as a player. I don't know. He didn't particularly stand out to me in this game, but I don't know. Defenders, it's hard to stand out, I would say, unless they have like a ridiculous game. I don't know. Maybe the pool of selections just didn't wow me in this game, but that's not the knock Osamanu. I think that's a good spot for him. I wouldn't want him in a back two and a back three. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I think what it was for me is there wasn't a moment in the game where he did anything that I questioned, right? Like I thought he was just really solid. He did everything he needed to do, and he kept doing it. He was positionally strong. He won every challenge he was in, had a number of good clearances. So solid game.
I think it's probably one of those things where if you're looking around to give that award out, it's like, all right, well, Sterling scored, but he played 45 minutes. Not going to give it to him.
Right.
No one else scores. Okay, Miami didn't score. Hounds got a shutout. Dick only had to save two saves. Who do I give it to? I just give it to someone on the back line. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
Etu. Jet. I'm just saying.
What?
Should have given it to Etu.
Yeah, I mean, probably a good point.
That's what I would have. Yeah.
I'm surprised I didn't think of that. Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, small shout out to Aiden O'Toole for becoming like Messi for half a second at the end of the game. That was cool. Wouldn't mind seeing more of that. I think there's an opportunity, I think, in this league to be a little bit more brave on one-on-one situations. Our goal comes out of that where Etu squares up his defender and just goes by him, and that creates a big chance. If you're good on the ball, I understand the downside. Whereas if you lose it, then you're giving away the ball potentially in a bad area, and then you need to track back and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I think it's hard to carve out clear-cut chances in this league, and I don't know. Sometimes taking your man on one-on-one, I think, is probably underutilized.
And I think especially underutilized by the Hounds in a Bob Lilly system.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like there's nothing wrong with this either. I mean, but like, driving down the side, trying to find a cross. I mean, that's how we score. But it's, I don't really want to see us consistently taking shots outside the 18. There were moments, I don't know, to give the Hounds their credit. I mean, there were moments where we kind of hit them on transition and kind of, went through the middle, not just with the long ball. But yeah, one-on-one situations, I'm here advocating for it. I'm all for it.
Yeah. I mean, so one of the things that I noticed, and I talked about, or you talked about, and because I was going to bring it up, but you talked about Mertz being in the mix a little bit more. And you talked about all the players that were crashing the box and whatnot on the goal. And that wasn't that wasn't an isolated incident. And we've started to see that a little bit more. And I think that what we're starting to see is the Hounds looking to exploit the attack from a variety of different points. Whereas it seemed like last year, if it wasn't going through Dikwa, where was it going through, right? Like it was going through a defender on a set piece. The year before, if it wasn't going through Dikwa or Russ, who else was coming up with anything? And I think that what you're talking about with Aiden and driving at defenders with the ball at your feet is a part of that aspect of being able to not just play one thing, right? Like we know Bob wants quality chances. He wants high probability chances, and he would rather recycle the ball than have the team take a bad shot. But I think keeping teams on their toes through a variety of different attacks is really important. I think that's what you're really focused on there, Kev.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to see us consistently taking like low percentage shots, but once to keep them honest, maybe like isn't a terrible idea. So yeah, no, it's.
Well, what was it? Was it Bob's first 2 seasons? I mean, we had like some absolutely ridiculous goals from Cheetah, from Brett, from Forbes, from outside the box that just like at home, right in front of the Steel Army, all 3 of them were just like, and people went wild, right? Like it feels really good to see those goals right in front of you and celebrate those too.
But I just don't know if we have, Nico was one of the best finishers I've seen at this club for a while. I mean, Dikwa too. I mean, but yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do think we need to stop talking about this game, bro. But like, I think there's an element of sometimes it's an interesting kind of thought experiment to kind of work backwards from personal targets. I generally speaking, I think it's never good to like think about individual goals for players. However, if you start thinking about like how are we going to get our points this season? How are we going to end in the top 4 by the end of the season? Is it, defensively? Okay, then how do we need to play in order to kind of really lean on our defense to win us games? If it's offensively, how do we need to play to really lean on our offense to get games? And then you start spreading out numbers, and it's like, all right, how many goals do we have to score? Who's going to score those goals? I mean, I think if Mertz is going to be in the attacking midfield, if Griffin is going to be in the midfield with a license to get forward, if Forbes got subbed off pretty late in this game. I mean, I think usually with a point in his career, I guess in my head, I just think by default he's going to be subbed out by 60. I mean, he played a big portion of this game. We need those guys to score goals. I've been a critic of Mertz in the past. I think he's actually started the season pretty well. I think he was pretty lively in this game, created some chances, had some good shots that were just blocked. But he needs to get like minimum of 5 goals this year. Griffin, probably 5 as well. Kenny should be chipping in. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that kind of all ends up.
Yeah. Josh, any last thought on this game?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not worried about this. I'm not. This game didn't make me, have a huge pause about like, oh, I don't know. Like it's funny to say that because we won, but the vibe coming out of all this, especially from Lily, was very like dour, and I'm just like, am I dour about it? Like, do I think it was a bad game? No, I'm good. I don't like. We got the win. We just move on. I do think there's things that we need to work on. But I've seen them click in other games, so I know they can. Just putting all those together at once is what needs to happen, and I think this team has it. I'm so much more positive about this team, which I knew was going to happen because I looked at the starting of the schedule and I saw a whole bunch of hard games right at the front, and we had a slow start just in general, not even having all our pieces on the field at once. So not surprised to see that despite the Dequit loss, we are probably going to be okay. And I think we're going to be as good as we were last year? Still probably not. Like I don't think we're going to be vying for first place. I hope we will be, but the way some other teams are popping off, I don't know.
I was say I don't know that that's a comment on the Hounds as much as it's looking at what some of the other teams are doing at this stage.
But season's early. Never know how they're going to pan out. Like they could, rising star fade real fast. You never know. So
all you need to do is peak during the playoffs, and you're good.
If you want to win the playoffs, which is what we want, I will take a 4th place finish.
Oh, for sure.
If that means we get that trophy. I barely could say it because I didn't want to. Yeah.
Well, okay. So speaking of trophies, Hounds were the closest second division team to the U.S. Open Cup last year, and I guess this is the 4th round now. Hounds hosting Tulsa tomorrow night, 7:00 in the U.S. Open Cup. What do you guys expect to see, Josh?
Yeah, turnover. I expect to see a very different lineup because, you mentioned Kevin. I think you mentioned Forbes playing so long. Yeah. I'm like, man, he played a lot. I don't think he's going to be playing the Open Cup game. Like that's a lot of minutes. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of new face. Not new to us because most of the team has played at this point, but. A different type of lineup than we're used to seeing. And it's also going to be weird because this is a double header. So, we're playing Tulsa at home and then away on the weekend. So, it'll be really interesting to see that dynamic play out across these 2 games. But I'm feeling pretty confident playing at home, them having to travel, and just knowing what we can do. So, feeling good.
Yeah. Kev, what about you?
I'm expecting Sterling.
Better be.
Not expecting Forbes. I don't know. Just looking at the Western Conference, Tulsa, pretty even with 2 wins, 2 losses, and 3 draws. I have no idea how good they are this season. But I don't know. I'm really up for it. I mean, based off of what happened with us in the Open Cup last season, and based around all the drama's not even the right word, but drama around the Open Cup this year, it hasn't diminished at all in my head, and the amount of memories that it created last season. So I'm up for it. I think in seasons gone by, I would have been more willing to just be like, whatever. I don't play players that need momentum and minutes and rhythm. Especially at home against Tulsa. I do think the doubleheader aspect of it makes it weird. Because I don't know. I think it's hard to beat a team twice in a row. But
nah.
So the only thing I could come up with to kind of even try to get a benchmark was that both the Hounds and Tulsa have played Phoenix and Orange County. Tulsa tied Phoenix 3-3 in early April. What was that, the week right before we played Phoenix, I believe? And they lost to Orange County 1-0. So the Hounds had beaten the Hounds beat Phoenix 3-1, first win of the season. We lost our home opener to Orange County in the second game of the season, 0-2, which I don't know what to take from that, right? Like, but it was the only thing as I'm looking, like, how do I stack these teams up this early in the season when they're not in the same division? There's not a lot of the same, right? Like, it's an unequitable points. And even like, right, like even looking at Detroit versus the Hounds last week, like, who knows, right? Like, the schedule strength is completely different. So I don't know. Do I think Tulsa is fine? Probably. Do I think we can beat them with a rotated team and a full strength team? Yeah, I think we can win both games.
I also think, looking at a doubleheader like this, I have, drank the Kool-Aid a little bit too much, but I feel like Bob being a good tactician and like being able to break a team down and like have a strategy. Do I think Tulsa's coach is just as tactically minded and can use the same knowledge that Bob can? Like, will he have the same type of like abilities as Bob? And I don't think he does. Like, I think Bob will play them and have firsthand knowledge at that point about how to better play them the next week. Like, not even a full week, but like the next match. So I feel like a doubleheader benefits Bob more than it benefits Tulsa.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to think about it. Yeah, I'm with you. I back Bob. I didn't think about it that way, but
yeah. But
so So this first game, Open Cup. Josh, you looks like you read through that article that USL put out, or at least skimmed it. I saw it. I didn't read it.
So
I was
it's
more
pretty
focused
funny.
on. Tell a little bit about what you saw. Bob's quoted in there, and it's about cup sets, right?
Yes, it's a fun little article that USL came out with. It's on the USL Championship website. It's just the 4 biggest keys to earning a US Open cup sets. And they talk
like that word, by the way.
Cup set? It's fun. I don't like fun. And when I'm saying that,
why does it not surprise me that you would say that, Cap?
That's not a proper word. You just made that word up. Well, yeah. Okay. So they interviewed Bob and Sacramento's coach, Mark Briggs, because we both had cup sets last year. And it's like just kind of like takeaways and showing off highlights of the games. But there's like 4 major points, like be aggressive. And Bob, I love it because we always make this joke about Bob when we're like at preseason games, because we sit right behind him and hear him yelling at the players. And like, there's hardly anyone at preseason, so you can hear every single word he says. And the thing that comes out of his mouth the most is go forward, go forward. It's always go forward, like get forward, like where you at? And that's the first thing he says. The first thing we always talk about is you've got to be willing to go forward. And it kind of goes off from there, just talking about, not being scared of them. And then the second one is just be confident. And he talks about how a lot of our team last year against New England knew the team because they had either played for the academy, they had played for New England for a little bit. So like a lot of the players he knew that team and knew how to kind of needle them, like where their weaknesses were, and just like had a chip on their shoulder. Like you could tell, like a lot of them were like, why am I not playing for New England? Like I played in your academy, or I played for you for a little bit. And like letting that be kind of like a motivator for the team and just have them go at it. And then I think the last one was just, score the opening goal, which feels like a very Madden thing to say. I mean, the way you win, the way you get a cup set is you score the goal. So not having to chase the game. And of course, Bob saying like, if you get that opening goal, you can, be defensively stout and like just keep your form and ride the game out. And so if you want to check it out, it is the answer is pretty longer than that. That was just kind of like a summation of it, but it's fun.
I skimmed it too, and I didn't Bob's quote on the whole like New England thing. I'll be honest, I was a little surprised. I didn't think that he would buy into and believe in that type of like individual player motivation.
Listen, he might not have emotions, but he knows the players. No, that's
yeah.
absolutely not true when it comes to Bob. The guy who yells the most and has the most passion that I've ever seen in a coach. No, but
it's a quotable, funny thing though. That you
yes,
said.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, my interactions with Bob, like, if he sees somebody, like, if he sees, like, exploit is not the right word, right? Like these are his players. He really cares about these guys, right? Even if it's kind of awkward when he introduces them at meet the team events, right? But like, he's gonna find that thing that he thinks is gonna get them to take that next step. And if it's something like, yeah, you played there, go out and show him how good you are. Like, he's gonna do that. Because any advantage he thinks he can find, he's going to look for it.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, 2 games against Tulsa, 7:00 at Highmark tomorrow night, and then 8:30 p.m. On the streaming services. I believe this is ESPN and KDK Plus is on the weekend. So that's what we got coming up. Any last thoughts on the Hounds and Tulsa, any of this stuff?
No, but I reached out to our contact at the Hounds, Grubba, to get a full lineup of all of the mascots that were at the game.
Oh, nice.
This list is hilarious. Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, yeah, okay. So the Steelers, they had their mascot there. I've always forget his name, but Flynn's Tire and Cosmo the Dragon, St. Francis U. Flynn's Tires. Listen, I don't know. Duquesne University, Washington Wild Things, Altoona Curve, Texas Roadhouse, and the Steel Man, Ammo and Steel City brand. Yeah, Steel City has a mascot, by the way, the brand. Like, just a skeleton guy in a pirate's hat. Like, it was like, oh, all right. Point Park University, Erie Otters, U.S. Army, Pittsburgh Lion. Pittsburgh Lion. What's Pittsburgh Lion?
What is it? The zoo?
The zoo? Yeah.
It just says Pittsburgh Lion. I don't know who that is.
He just saw the lion that you mentioned before walking around.
Like, yeah, the Pittsburgh Lion. Yeah. That's what he called himself, the Pittsburgh Lion. What do you want from me? Pittsburgh Penguins, Pittsburgh Thunderbirds, and Mr. Water Heater. Also, Rock the Pit Panther as a late addition.
They were like, "Oh man, the Pittsburgh Lion's going to be there. We can't be left out."
Oh yeah, this is going to be embarrassing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Is it a year? Is it a yearly thing? Like an annual thing?
They've done this multiple years now. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, they always do at half, or I don't know, always. I think it's actually been 3 years, maybe. But anyway, at halftime, they have like the little kids play soccer against the mascots, and it's always hilarious. Like, I think it was on Hounds they mentioned they always want to see like one of the mascots just take out a kid. I'm the opposite. I want to see like all the kids just like start kicking the crap out of one of the mascots. Like, you know, he does a foul or something like that, or just I just want to see a bunch of kids just like beat up on a mascot. I think that'd be hilarious. But every year so far, I think it's at least 2 years, the water heater guy, he gets a red card. Like, it's just like a jokey thing. Like, they give him a red card and he storms out. Yeah. So
he
boils over.
Level of attention. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey guys, that's all I've got. Thanks for joining tonight. One thing I want to say to everybody, you know where to find us, YouTube, that one site that people put really short messages on that we're starting to not use as much anymore. Or, you know, you can find most games, Josh and I, in the parking lot at Steel Army Tailgate. Come hang out.
Find us in the parking lot.
You know, maybe eventually we'll get everybody else there. But yeah, one thing I do want to say, keep an eye out on our feeds, whether you're following on a podcast feed or YouTube or whatever. But I think mostly podcast feeds this week. We're going to have a special episode that is going to drop Thursday or Friday. So that's exciting. And thanks for reminding me, Liz. Yes, get us to 5,000 subscribers on
500,
YouTube. 500, not 5,000. No, that's Hounds attendance. What that means to get to 500 subscribers is at every Hounds game for the rest of the season, find one person and tell them to subscribe. That's all you got to do. We'll get there. And then Mike's going to have to do something stupid and we all get to watch.
I missed this.
Yeah, like it was one of those things, a very Mike moment where he's like, if we get to 500 subscribers, I'll do something stupid. What do you guys want me to do? I'll do something stupid. And like on air, it's like, oh, all right, you just said that out loud, cool. So yeah,
So
That's fun.
Yeah, that's what I got.
all right.
Thanks for joining, guys. Have a great night.
Cheers.